I held my daughter's ashes in my hands 18 years ago. I scattered them in the Pacific Ocean, watching them dissolve into the waves off the coast of Santa Cruz, the place where she used to collect seashells every summer. I said goodbye to my little girl that day, my Emma, who was only 7 years old when the fire took her from me. Last Tuesday, at exactly 11:47 p.m., I received an email from her old email address. The subject line read, "Dad, I need help." The attachment was a video, 12 seconds long, showing a woman who looked exactly like Emma would look now, holding today's newspaper, tears streaming down her face, mouthing the words, "I'm alive." My name is Richard Holland. I'm 65 years old now, a retired detective from the San Jose Police Department. I spent 32 years working homicide, seeing things that would break most people. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for losing Emma. She was my only child, the brightest light in my life after my wife Laura died from cancer when Emma was just 4. It was just the two of us against the world, and I thought I was doing okay raising her alone. I was wrong about a lot of things back then. The fire happened on March 14th, 2007. I was working a double shift, following up on a gang-related shooting in East San Jose. Emma was staying with my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, like she did whenever I worked late. Around 9 p.m., Mrs. Chen's house erupted in flames. By the time the fire department arrived, the entire second floor was engulfed. They found 2 bodies in the wreckage. The medical examiner identified one as Mrs. Chen through dental records. The other, a child, was so badly burned that visual identification was impossible. They used the clothes, a distinctive bracelet I'd given Emma for her birthday, and the fact that she was the only child in the house that night. I identified what remained. I buried my daughter. I scattered her ashes. I spent 18 years believing she was gone. I never remarried. Never even tried. My entire world narrowed down to work, retirement, and the memory of a little girl who loved chocolate chip pancakes and insisted on wearing her princess crown to the grocery store. I kept her room exactly as it was. Her stuffed animals on the bed, her drawings on the walls, her little desk where she'd do homework while I cooked dinner. People told me I needed to move on, to let go, to pack up her things. I couldn't. Some part of me, the detective part maybe, never felt right about the whole thing. But I pushed those thoughts away because the alternative, that I'd somehow failed her, was too painful to consider. I need to explain something about that email before I continue, because I know what you're thinking. How could I receive an email from an address that had been inactive for 18 years? Wouldn't it have been deleted by now? Here's the thing, I never closed Emma's email account. It was one of those early Gmail addresses I'd set up for her to send me drawings and silly messages while I was at work. After she died, I kept paying for the custom domain service attached to it, kept the account active, kept the password saved in my browser. I'd log in sometimes, late at night, when the loneliness got too heavy, just to read our old exchanges. It was pathetic, maybe, but it was all I had left. So yes, the account was active. The address was real. But that doesn't explain how someone was sending emails from it. When I first saw the email notification light up my phone that Tuesday night, my hands started shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. I was in my living room, the TV playing some late-night show I wasn't watching, nursing a glass of whiskey that had become a nightly habit. The sender showed as Emma Holland, the little profile picture still her 7-year-old face with that gap-toothed smile. The email had no text in the body, just the subject line and the video attachment. I must have stared at that notification for 5 full minutes before I could bring myself to click it. The video was taken in what looked like a small, dimly lit room. Concrete walls, a single barred window, a metal bed frame visible in the corner. And there she was. A woman, maybe 25 years old, with Emma's same auburn hair, same green eyes, same small scar above her left eyebrow from when she fell off her bike at age 5. She was holding up a copy of the San Jose Mercury News from March 12, 2025, 2 days before the current date. Her lips were trembling as she mouthed those words, "I'm alive." Then the video cut to black. I watched it 17 times that night. I analyzed every pixel, every shadow, every detail my detective's eye could catch. The newspaper was genuine. I could make out the headlines clearly. The woman's face, even accounting for 18 years of aging, matched every progression photo the FBI had created when I'd obsessively requested them years ago, trying to imagine what Emma might look like growing up. But this was impossible. I'd held her remains. I'd scattered her ashes, hadn't I? For the next 3 days, I didn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I just sat at my computer, staring at that 12-second video, trying to understand what was happening. Was this some cruel prank? Had someone used AI to create this? Some sick individual who'd researched my tragedy and decided to torture me? But how would they have access to Emma's email? How would they know about that scar above her eyebrow that wasn't visible in any public photos? How could they age her face so perfectly that it matched not just the FBI's projections but also what I'd imagined in my darkest dreams? On Friday, 3 days after the first email, another one arrived. Same sender, same subject line, but this time there was text in the body. It read, "Dad, I don't have much time." He checks my computer. I'm in Nevada, I think, near Henderson. The house is white with blue shutters, near a water tower. Please believe me. Please find me. I've been here since the fire. His name is Robert. He took me. I remember you. I remember everything. Please hurry. Emma. That's when I knew I had to move. Every instinct I'd honed over 3 decades told me this was real. But I also knew I couldn't go to the police. Not yet. If this was really Emma, if she'd been held captive for 18 years, whoever had her would disappear the moment law enforcement got involved. And if this was a hoax, I'd look like a delusional old man chasing ghosts. So, I did what I always did. I investigated. I started with the fire. I pulled every file, every report, every piece of evidence from that night. The arson investigation had concluded it was an electrical fault, old wiring in Mrs. Chen's house that sparked in the wall. But as I read through the reports with fresh eyes, things started bothering me. The fire had started in the room where Emma was sleeping, not near any electrical outlets. The burn pattern was consistent with an accelerant, though the report dismissed this as melted plastic from toys. And most troubling, the responding firefighter had noted in his initial report seeing a man running from the backyard. But this detail never made it into the final investigation summary. I tracked down that firefighter. His name was Miguel Santos, retired now, living in Gilroy. When I showed up at his door and explained who I was, his face went pale. He invited me in, poured us both coffee, and told me something that made my blood run cold. He'd seen a man that night, definitely seen him, running from behind Mrs. Chen's house, carrying what looked like a bundle. Miguel had reported it, but his captain told him to leave it out of the official report. The department was under pressure to close cases quickly, and it looked like an accident, so why complicate things? Miguel had always felt guilty about it. He'd tried to follow up years later, but the case was closed, archived, forgotten. I asked Miguel what the man looked like. He closed his eyes, reaching back 18 years. White male, maybe late 30s then, medium build, dark hair. Nothing distinctive, except he was wearing a jacket that seemed too heavy for a warm March night. Miguel had assumed he was just a neighbor who'd tried to help, and panicked. But now, knowing what I knew, I wondered if that man had been Robert. Next, I contacted every Robert in the Henderson, Nevada area. I used old police databases I technically shouldn't still have access to, cross-referenced them with anyone who'd lived in San Jose in 2007, and came up with 43 names. I started making calls, pretending to be conducting a survey, asking innocent questions, listening to voices, trying to find something, anything that felt wrong. On my 29th call, I found him. Robert Vance, 57 years old, lived alone in a house that matched the description from Emma's email. White with blue shutters, near the Henderson water tower. When I asked if he'd ever lived in California, there was a pause, just a fraction of a second too long, before he said no. When I mentioned San Jose specifically, he hung up. I had him. I drove to Henderson that same day. It's about a 9-hour drive from San Jose, and I made it in 7, stopping only for gas and coffee. I know I should have called the police at this point. Should have let the professionals handle it. But I'd been a professional for over 30 years, and I knew how these things went. Warrants take time. Surveillance takes time. And if Emma was really in that house, if my daughter had spent 18 years as a prisoner, I wasn't waiting another 18 hours. I parked 3 blocks away and waited for darkness. The house was exactly as described. White siding, blue shutters, a detached garage, surrounded by a chain-link fence, no neighbors close by. I watched through binoculars as lights turned on and off inside. Around 10 p.m., I saw movement in a second-floor window. A woman's silhouette, brief, then gone. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might have a heart attack right there in my rental car. At midnight, the house went dark. I waited another hour, then approached from the back, the way I'd done 100 times on drug raids when I was younger. The back door had a simple lock that I picked in under a minute. I'm not proud of breaking into someone's home, but this wasn't someone's home. This was a prison, and my daughter was inside. The house smelled of cigarettes and old cooking grease. I moved through the kitchen, my flashlight off, letting my eyes adjust to the darkness. The layout was typical. Living room to the left, stairs straight ahead. I could hear snoring from a room on the first floor. Robert, probably. I started up the stairs, each creak of the old wood sounding like a gunshot in the silence. There were 3 doors upstairs. 2 were open, showing empty bedrooms. The third had a padlock on the outside. I felt rage then, pure and hot. The kind of rage that had made me quit the force before I did something I couldn't take back. What kind of monster locks a door from the outside? I picked the padlock, and my hands were steadier than they'd been in days. The room was exactly as it appeared in the video. Concrete walls that someone had clearly added, reinforcing the room to be soundproof. A single window with bars, a bed, a desk, a small bookshelf. And sitting on the bed, eyes wide with fear and hope, was Emma. She was wearing pajamas, her hair longer than in the video, and when she saw me, she made a sound between a gasp and a sob. "Dad," she whispered, and that voice, older but unmistakably hers, broke something in me. I moved to her, slowly, not wanting to scare her. I raised a finger to my lips, indicating quiet, and she nodded. Up close, I could see she was thinner than she should be, with dark circles under her eyes, but it was her. God help me, it was really her. "We need to leave," I whispered. "Can you walk?" She nodded again, standing up on shaky legs. I noticed a chain around her ankle, connected to a bolt in the floor. The rage came back, stronger. I pulled out my multi-tool and started working on the bolt while Emma watched, tears streaming down her face. "How did you find me?" she whispered. "You sent me an email, sweetheart. You told me where you were. I didn't think it would work. He usually catches me before I can send anything." The bolt came free. I helped her stand, and we moved toward the door. That's when the lights came on, and Robert Vance was standing at the top of the stairs with a baseball bat. He was older than Miguel had described. Of course, gray hair now, but I recognized something in his eyes. The cold calculation of a predator who'd just found his prey cornered. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. I stepped in front of Emma, my hand moving to the gun I'd brought, tucked in my waistband. I'm not supposed to have a carry permit anymore, not since retirement, but old habits die hard. "I'm Richard Holland," I said, my voice steady, "and you took my daughter 18 years ago. This ends tonight." Robert's expression changed. Recognition, then fear. "I don't know what you're talking about. That's my daughter. You're breaking into my home? Your daughter?" I pulled out my phone, showing him Emma's birth certificate photo I'd saved. "This is Emma Holland, born June 12th, 1999, in San Jose, California. She's got a birthmark on her right shoulder blade shaped like a butterfly. She broke her left wrist when she was 6. There's a pin in it. And she's allergic to shellfish. You want to keep lying? Or do you want to tell me why you kidnapped a 7-year-old and kept her locked in a room for nearly 2 decades? Behind me, Emma spoke for the first time in front of Robert. "Tell him," she said, her voice stronger than I expected. "Tell him what you did." Robert's face crumbled, the bat lowered, and then he started talking, like he'd been waiting years to confess. He'd been Mrs. Chen's handyman, doing electrical work on her house. He'd seen Emma there, playing in the yard, and something in his sick mind decided she was perfect. He'd planned it for weeks, learning my schedule, learning when Emma stayed overnight. The fire was intentional, set with a timing device in Emma's room. He'd known the backdoor code, had slipped in during dinner, and taken Emma while she slept. The body they'd found wasn't Emma. It was a homeless girl he'd found near the San Jose train station, roughly the same age and size. He'd kept her sedated, unable to move or call for help during the fire. He'd put Emma's bracelet on the body, knowing the fire would make dental identification impossible for a child with no dental records on file. Why? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I wanted a daughter, he said simply, as if that explained everything. My wife left me, took our kids. I was alone. Emma was so sweet, so perfect. I thought I could give her a good life. A good life? Emma's voice was shaking with rage now. You locked me in a room. You told me my father was dead, that he didn't want me. You made me believe I had nowhere to go. I wanted to shoot him right there. My hand was on the gun, my finger on the trigger. But Emma put her hand on my arm. Don't, she said. He's not worth it. Just get me out of here. I called the police then, using Robert's landline while keeping my gun trained on him. The Henderson PD arrived within minutes, lights and sirens filling the quiet street. I showed them my retired badge, explained the situation, and watched as they arrested Robert Vance on kidnapping, arson, and murder charges. The next few hours were a blur. Police statements, medical examinations, DNA tests to confirm what my heart already knew. Emma was fingerprinted. The prints matched the ones on file from when I'd had her printed at a safety fair in 2006. The pin in her wrist showed up on X-rays, exactly where it should be. The birthmark, the allergy, every detail matched. The DNA test was just a formality, but when it came back 3 days later confirming with 99.9% certainty that Emma Holland was my daughter, I wept like I hadn't wept since the day I'd scattered those ashes. The medical examiner in San Jose reopened the 2007 case. They exhumed the remains we'd buried, ran DNA tests, and confirmed what Robert had confessed. The body was that of a 15-year-old runaway named Jessica Martinez, who'd been reported missing from Fresno 2 weeks before the fire. Her family finally got to bury her properly. I had to live with the knowledge that I'd scattered a stranger's ashes in the ocean, while my daughter suffered in captivity. Emma and I spent the next weeks in intensive therapy, both together and separately. She told me about the years in that room, how Robert had homeschooled her using online programs, how he'd convinced her for years that I was dead, that her mother had died hating me, that she had no one but him. It was only when she turned 18 and he got careless with his computer password that she'd been able to search her own name and find the truth. She'd been planning her escape for 7 years, sending emails whenever she could, trying to reach anyone who might help. I was the only one who responded because I was the only one who'd kept her email account active. Robert Vance pleaded guilty to avoid trial. He's serving life without parole in Nevada State Prison. The arson investigator who'd covered up Miguel's testimony retired under pressure. The San Jose PD issued a formal apology and overhauled their procedures for child death investigations. Emma is 25 now, truly living for the first time. She's taking college classes, learning to drive, experiencing all the things that were stolen from her. Some days are harder than others. She has nightmares, anxiety attacks, moments where the weight of those lost years crushes her. But she's strong, stronger than I ever was. She's my daughter, and she survived. We're rebuilding our relationship slowly, carefully. She doesn't call me Dad yet, not regularly. It's still Richard most days, sometimes Father, when she's feeling formal. But last month, on her birthday, she let me take her to Santa Cruz, to the beach where I'd scattered those ashes. We collected seashells together, just like when she was 7, and when we got back to the car, she hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for never closing my email, Dad." I still keep her childhood room the way it was. She's asked me to change it, to make it into something new, something for the woman she is now rather than the child she was. I will, eventually. But for now, It's a reminder of what we lost and what we found again. It's proof that impossible things can happen, that miracles exist, and that a father's love can survive even the worst nightmare imaginable. I know some of you reading this won't believe it. I understand. If someone had told me this story 3 months ago, I would have been skeptical too. But I have the police reports, the DNA tests, the court documents. I have my daughter back. That's all the proof I need. To anyone out there who's lost someone, who's been told to give up hope, who's living with that empty space in their heart, don't give up. Keep that email account active. Keep their room ready. Keep believing, even when it seems impossible. Because sometimes, just sometimes, you get a second chance at goodbye. And if you're lucky, that goodbye turns into hello again. Emma is sleeping in the next room right now, in the apartment we share in San Jose. I can hear her breathing, alive and real and home. 18 years of darkness, ended by 12 seconds of video, and a daughter who never stopped fighting to come back to me. I buried my daughter 18 years ago. Last month, I found her alive. And tomorrow, we're going to wake up and build a new life, together, one day at a time, making up for every single moment that was stolen from us. That's my story. That's my impossible miracle. And I'm sharing it because somewhere out there, someone else might be waiting for their own impossible moment. Don't stop waiting. Don't stop hoping. Don't close that email account. You never know when 12 seconds might change everything.